Welcome to the Pink Dress Effect podcast with Shannon
and Kim.
We're here today to talk about shame and how shame will make you spiral, right?
Yes,
and so
yes. It can lead to depression and anxiety.
And how social media kind of can be a mirror for folks. So
yeah. And how it can just contribute to shame.
Right.
So we're going to talk about kind of, what is shame and versus like guilt. So shame is I am bad, and like guilt is I did a bad thing.
Okay.
You know, and that you really want to distinguish between that. And a lot of the conversation we have today will be driven by the work of Brené Brown.
Can you say that again? I'm just trying to process it.
Shame is I am bad.
Okay.
And guilt is I did a bad thing.
So shame, I am bad, but it's not because I did a bad thing. That's where the guilt.
Shame is where you kind of internalize it.
Okay.
So instead of saying I did a bad thing, it now becomes I am bad.
I'm bad if I did a bad thing.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay.
I think I'm guilty of that.
And we all are. That is one of the major points of talking about today is that, look, you're not going to get rid of shame. We all have shame for any number of reasons. And we'll talk about some of the things that kind of drive that. So it's really about what do you do with that?
Okay.
Because you're going to have shame. But if you do have it and you don't figure out how to manage that, then it could lead to things like alcoholism, depression, anxiety.
Do you think like the alcoholism, it's just to numb how you're feeling? Is that what you?
Well, I worked in the behavioral health field, and I remember going to a conference, and it was a gentleman who was in recovery, and he said, "You can't say anything to me to make me feel worse about myself than I already do."
Did he do something terrible?
No, just from
living life?
Yeah, just from being, addicted to alcohol.
Oh,
so you know how you make all these not you, but society makes all these disparaging remarks about a person who has alcoholism. Well, it doesn't help him for you to tell him all of those things, can come down on him and be negative and say, because all those thoughts you're saying, he's already thought them.
And he probably feels it times 10.
Yeah. So it's, why would you shame someone else? He's already got that internal shame that's driving the addiction. So you want to be, again, give grace to people and really think about those things in your life that do generate shame. So can you think about, I can share an example. I know one of the kind of core things that I grew up with that contributed to shame. And it was that I was too sensitive and too emotional and crazy. Now, I might be a little crazy, but not in the way, not a negative thing. So my sensitivity is what allows me to connect with people. It makes me very empathetic and very, caring. But it was not seen as a good thing growing up. It was just I was too sensitive and too emotional.
And that's such a beautiful thing about you. Just like I think you saying that made me think about talking. I mean, I'm a talker. It is what it is. But, I remember, my desk in second grade and probably first grade and probably kindergarten. No, I just remember specifically second grade being moved away from everyone else. And I think even going in the hall because I talk too much and, you carry that with you, but it's who you are. And I'm like, I'm better now, but I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
And when it started to see it happening to my own child, I walked in and I stopped it because I knew what it did to me.
And one of the big things that Brené Brown says, and like I said, a lot of the discussion will be kind of her philosophy on it.
Okay.
And also Kristin S. But you start to have a belief that you are flawed and that you are unworthy. And that's what shame does. So that's the greatest kind of
that's terrible though, because like what you shared is that something so great about you. And it's fundamentally
and then you become ashamed of it.
And then you're ashamed. I mean, that's so sad.
It's the whole you're too much thing.
That's awful. You shouldn't be too much to be yourself.
No, you should not. And you should be really conscious and aware of the things in life that are making you feel ashamed. And that's why social media is so powerful, because we're always comparing ourselves to other people and then internalizing what that means about me. Am I worthy enough?
Which is hard because most of the people have filters and all that on their social media.
Because people are trying to be perfect. And you're looking at their
Crazy.
perfection and allowing that to make you feel bad about who you are.
And it's not even real.
And it's not real. And so what are some other types of things that people, the body image?
Oh, body, that's huge.
That's huge. I mean, that's
I'm like the worst of that.
And it doesn't matter, like from thin all the way to, to overweight. People have issues about their body because now, you need to have a big butt and you have all these things. If you're skinny,
Look,
then
and
you
I
got
don't
issues.
have a big butt.
Yeah.
I'm working on
I
it.
didn't even say that intentionally.
but that is like growing up for me.
Yeah.
It was always the chest, that was kind of the good, right? If you had a chest, so I had a chest, so we're good.
Yeah.
But yes, now the trend I think is to have a larger backside. And so, I mean, you can work that in the gym, but I mean, either you have it or you don't.
Yeah,
right? And so, yeah, I mean, not that I'm like feeling all self-conscious or anything, but I mean, even this weekend, my niece was here and I was laying on my bed and she was like, wow, Auntie Shannon, your butt's getting bigger.
Oh!
I know. I was like,
you felt good, didn't you?
I did. I was like, I've been working it. She goes, because that thing was flat as a pancake before. Now she's got a butt too. I'm like, girl. I'm like, leave your aunt alone.
But see, you could internalize that. And see, that's one of the things they say about shame too, is that you'll say, oh, well, I didn't grow up in a family that like shamed you about, weight or anything. And it's not always the deliberate thing that they say to you.
Could it be what? Do they even have to say? Like, could it be me watching my mother with all the weight stuff and then picking up on that and then therefore it's so internal ingrained in me?
Yep. And now then, yes, it could be exactly that. So you have to, it's your environment also. So, and then one of the things that with shame is that it thrives in secrecy and silence. And so that's one of the good things about like doing our show is that you can talk about the things that could bring us shame. But we've gotten comfortable with them and confident enough with them to share it. And when you share it and talk about it with other people, then it helps them with any shame they might have. And it helps people to see that they're not alone.
Right.
And, that's part of the issue with shame is that the just feeling like you're alone and the way that you the thoughts that you tell yourself about that. And I meant to bring my poem. I'm gonna publish it. I'm not publishing it. I'll do it on social media.
Yeah. You'll have to
when we're leading up to this episode. And it talked about because it was during a dark time in life. And so it'll be kind of dark, sorry, but it's a good poem.
It's a good poem.
It's a good one. But it talks about how shame is so sneaky. Because it's there and it's like plotting against you.
Kind of rob you of your life, right?
And you don't, and it's hidden inside of you, and it's all those bad things that you're telling yourself that are leading to anxiety, and untreated anxiety can lead to depression. But it's that narrative that you're telling yourself all the time about the things that you're ashamed of. And also like being a mom. I mean, think about raising your children and all of the stories that women are told about what's a good mom.
It starts from the beginning, right? Breastfeeding.
Yes.
I remember when the nurse came in and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, because I didn't know. And she goes, girl, I'm not the breastfeeding police. But there had already been nurses that came in that made me feel that way.
Yeah, and you're a bad mom if you don't breastfeed.
And I'm a new mom, and I have a 10-pound baby, and he's hungry, and the stuff's not working. What am I gonna do? You can't let him starve. Anyway, I remember feeling some kind of way about that.
And I always wanted to be the mom who, was doing all the crafts.
Yep.
You probably were that mom.
I was that mom.
You were my hero. And I would try to do stuff like that, but to be honest, Shannon, I didn't like it. I don't like doing crafts. I like buying crafts. I like buying the craft kits. And I like buying the easel and the paint for my children. My children are very artistic.
Yeah, they are.
But I'm not. And I felt the pressure to be like the crafty mom.
But you've got such a creative mind.
Oh, no, but I like to buy things. I don't.
Buy things and put them out or stuff.
I'm not like a DIYer, just like
and I would
coming
have
up
the
something.
bowls of the glitter and the bowls of this, and then let him kind of.
Yeah, see, I wanted to be that mom.
Like I had a party one time at my house. Trey was in like 3rd or 4th grade, and it was gingerbread houses.
Mm-hmm.
And I made all the gingerbread houses out of graham crackers.
Yeah.
And then I had all the kids come over and decorate. Yeah, I was that mom.
You were that mom. Yeah, I could absolutely see you just doing everything like perfectly.
Oh, God, not perfect. But yeah, I was that mom. I love that stuff. I do it with my nephews now, but.
And it's really hard. When I feel so much empathy for moms. I was recently around a mom that it was in my work environment, and her child had diaper rash.
Oh, that's
and
awful.
She was in tears because her child had diaper rash.
Because it's so painful.
And you knew the judgment she was having about that her child had a diaper rash. And I just told her, I said,
my child had a diaper rash.
Yeah,
bad.
But look, if you're a perfect mom, your child doesn't have diaper rash.
Right.
So, I was giving her tips and things, but I felt a great deal of empathy for her because she was in tears over it. So I think women really beat themselves up over that and carry a great deal of shame about how they mother.
Mothers can be, people can be tough. People can be tough on mothers, I think.
Which we did. We were supposed to come back with a Mother's Day episode.
We're going to do it.
We'll
do it for Father's Day.
Yes, we will. We are going to come back. But yeah, so we definitely want to think about, all of the areas in your life where you feel shame. And one of the greatest things that you can do to get to deal with it is empathy. And so,
but how do you get over it though? Like
empathy is the answer.
Okay, so like empathizing with yourself.
Empathizing, yes, knowing what are the things that cause you shame. Don't hide from them. It's when you have them, that's something about you that you feel like, oh, that makes me feel like I'm not good enough. But you try to hide it and pretend.
So embrace it, maybe.
Yeah, embrace it
and try to.
Embrace your crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you can overcome it, try to do that. And if not, just embrace it.
Yeah. And then share it with others. So I think it's like the whole premise of it is the show. Just learn how to be authentic. And I was recently talking with someone and I said, when it comes out, we both share a lot on the podcast. We talk about ourselves a lot. And I said, sometimes things are really private. However, there isn't anything I talk about here that I have not gotten comfortable with myself.
Right.
So no one could shame me about something that I say here.
Even though I whispered the word
You
sex.
You did whisper it. Did you feel some shame about that?
It might have been. I don't know. I know. It's like
that's from another episode.
But I did. I whispered the word sex. And you were like, you just whispered that.
Like we couldn't hear her. But that is another area
maybe
where people feel a lot of shame about sex. So there's so many things in life.
And so many things can contribute to it, right?
Yeah.
It could be you, it could be your family, it could be experiences, right?
Could be something that happened, something that happened to you. So I think when you can empathize most importantly with yourself and have grace for yourself, share that experience with other people, then that allows for them to say, oh, well, she's talking about that. And I have that experience. I can talk about it and I don't have to feel bad about myself.
That's
either.
Awesome. So maybe that's one of the great things about doing this podcast. We can help people not feel shameful.
Well, that is the goal.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not sure how much, hopefully we'll see. Just talking about, it is May is Mental Health Month. So, people talk about suicide. And it is one of the leading kind of factors in contributing to that. And just the shame that people carry. And if it does lead to anxiety and depression, it can also impact that as well. And if people are allowed to be who they are, authentically who they are, without shame, then we could start to really address some of those issues.
Like anxiety and depression, which people feel oftentimes very shamed
about
around,
that.
Which I think we've come a long way, though, because I mean, 20, 30 years ago, I mean, I had people in my family, they wouldn't even go to therapy.
Yeah.
Because it was terrible. So you go talk to a priest. That's what you do.
Yeah,
You
you're
don't-
possessed.
Right. But you don't go to
Yeah.
therapy because, that's bad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everybody I know is in therapy. It's great.
Yeah, and for a long time, I think, especially in the African American community, it was seen as a sign of weakness.
But going to therapy?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, any kind of mental
But why,
health.
though, you think?
Well, your faith is supposed to be in God, and your strength is in God. So, if you're walking around depressed and anxious, then is your faith strong enough? And so, again, another area where you can then feel shame because your faith isn't as strong as some might lead you to believe it should
But my
be.
gosh, sometimes it's just a freaking chemical imbalance. You know what I mean? Or maybe you just need a little help.
Yes.
I know my son
Yeah.
was sharing a podcast with me yesterday about how I don't even know the guy's name on the podcast, but he believes like depression and that it's not that it's not real, it's that you can get yourself out of it by making changes in your life. And in some ways I do agree with that.
Well, no, I think that's true.
But I tried to tell my son though, because I felt like he was trying to not minimize, but that maybe it really wasn't real, like, right? Depression, anxiety. And I was like, no. There are people, it's totally a chemical. Like, they can have the best life and, like, still something's off, right? You might need a little help. So my son's young, so I'm just trying to, like, don't believe everything you hear,
I have always, and you know this about me, just in talking and dealing, I have always shared with anybody my own experiences with depression and anxiety. And I have always been a huge proponent of using medication if it's needed, because sometimes you just need it to kind of get you over the hump.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're allowing, kind of all these issues and things to accumulate and you're not dealing with them, you're not addressing them, it can lead to that. And so I'm a big proponent of that. But I'm also a huge proponent of diet and,
for sure.
Things that maybe aren't as medically proven to work with depression. But I know in my own experience, when I changed my diet, I personally no longer had to take an antidepressant.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it's like if you have heart disease, right? You're going to take a pill for your heart. I mean, I have a thyroid. I take a thyroid pill every day. I have to. Like, okay, does it make me weak? No, it's just I have to do it. And so I think sometimes people get so caught up on like, oh, I got to take an antidepressant. It's terrible, but it's not. You would do it for any other part of your body.
You would.
Think of it like that, right?
But the stigma, that comes along with it, it's something that it takes lives. And that's what I've always said about like depression.
It's sad.
It steals time from you, because the time that you spend being depressed, it's like when you are depressed and you come out of it, it's almost like a fog being lifted. It's like you see the world, it's not quite as colorful. It's a little bit gray. It's, you're in like a fog, just kind of going through the motions. And it's that the age old, like check on your strong friends type of thing.
Yeah.
I was the type of person, I don't think the vast majority of people in my life knew how depressed I was.
I probably didn't.
Yeah. I was depressed from the time I was probably 10. When I was going through this, I'm so sensitive and so emotional.
That's so crazy.
So from probably about 10 years old until my late 40s. And I think I had a chronic underlying depression, but I worked every day. I took care of my children. I did all of the things.
Did you have times during that period of time where you felt like you came out of it, where you would have like, maybe you went on vacation and some of the stressors were not there and you just, I don't know.
I don't think I really experienced true joy until in the last few years of my life. Moments of true joy.
Wow.
I think even with an
That's
it is sad. And don't cry. It is sad, but that's why I think it's a true thief. It steals so much from you. And I think even with an antidepressant, it would level things out. But I hadn't worked on. I did therapy. It did numb you, and I did do therapy at different times to work on some of those issues surrounding shame and all of that. And so I think that helped, but I don't think until I got to the kind of the root cause of my own struggles. I changed my diet, and then all of that kind of happening at the same time allowed me to be able to overcome that. And so
That's awesome.
And so I have no shame about talking about depression or anxiety, and I will tell anybody because I truly know the impact that that it no longer has on my life now.
That's awesome.
And then what it did before. And so if I can share that with people, then I will always share that. But I know that even, during the time where I was really struggling, the shame was great during those times. Because you feel like, people will have an assumption about who you are as a person. Even when the check on the strong friends thing again, people think you're strong. People think that you can take care of everything, and that they think all those things.
They forget to ask you if you're okay.
They don't ask you if you're okay.
Yeah.
And you're not telling that you're not okay.
No. And they say you're funny friends too, right? The friends that are always laughing and smiling, and we're probably those people you need to check on.
And I laugh all the time.
Right.
Maybe that's why I laugh all the time.
But we're the people you need to check on, right? People automatically think someone who's quiet, more introverted.
Yeah.
We need to, but it's the people, we just mask it.
Mm-hmm. Very well.
Very well. So you would never even know.
Incredibly well.
I mean, look at all the comedians that have, taken their own lives. Like
yes.
Robin Williams. I mean, just all those people.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
They seem so...
young girl, you told me about her, and then I saw her. She had won a beauty pageant.
Oh, yeah.
Young
she
African, beautiful woman.
Beautiful. She was in New York and she jumped.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. She,
Yeah.
Miss USA, maybe, I think it was. Yeah.
But it's you.
She had you looked at her, she was beautiful.
Yeah.
She had a great life. She had a great family, but she had demons and she couldn't overcome them. And maybe the pressure of where,
and you don't know what's going to make people feel unworthy and like they're not good enough.
And you looked at her and you thought, wow, she's got it all.
She's got it all. Why would she feel that?
And she still did.
Yeah.
It's sad, really. What a sad.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
So yes, and look,
we're
like we both wore black for this show. We were like, we shouldn't have worn black. But the whole point of it is not to kind of dwell in staying in that place of feeling ashamed of yourself in any capacity, or allowing social media to drive you to those places.
Something, one of my friend Amy gave me some suggestions. She said sometimes when she's feeling some kind of way, she will take a break from social media.
Yes.
She literally or if she's like in a place or whatever, like there's this girl, Marguerite, I can't think of her last name. I have to bring it, but she's really good. She's on YouTube and she's very positive and just really, being a badass and, just focusing on herself. She'll listen to her. You told me to listen to her.
Yeah.
But she said, go on social media, like if you're on LinkedIn or whatever, not LinkedIn, Instagram. And I don't know, you're feeling some kind of way. Don't research that. Research what you love. So like I love to decorate. And during this time, I was redoing my bedroom.
Yes.
So she's like, search bedrooms, master bedrooms, new beds, all that stuff. Search working out.
Yeah.
Search the things that I love. And then it changed my algorithm.
Yes.
And so I was getting all this positive stuff that I love. I'm telling you, that was like some really good advice. One, stay off of it. And if you can't,
unfollow.
Change it to the positive stuff.
Yes.
Don't follow the stuff you're struggling with. Because
Yeah.
I was doing that and everything was just, it was just all the stuff and that's all you read.
And if you follow someone and you watch them and you feel bad about yourself after watching their wonderful life, don't follow them.
No, it's just a facade.
It's
really
not good. And
it's a highlight reel.
It's a highlight reel. And the self-talk. We've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah.
But what the narrative you tell yourself absolutely contributes to the shame that you feel.
Oh, God, yeah.
If you're walking around telling yourself that you're this and you're that and you're all of these negative things that you have heard other people tell you, or you just felt was true about yourself, it only feeds into itself. And that is a practice. And so go to learn how to talk positively. And that's when I think therapy really, really is a very positive thing, because it teaches you to see it.
We've talked about in the show, there's things that I'll say every once in a while.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You got a few little sayings.
Few little ones. And Kim's like, stop calling yourself that. And now I pay more attention, and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. I'm not any of that stuff. Why do I say that to myself?
No.
But it's probably so deep ingrained from when I was a kid or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And you could just say the opposite.
Yeah.
Just say, I am
amazing.
I am beautiful. So affirmations is one of the things that you can do. I'm not a big affirmation person. But journaling is another thing that people can. Journaling is great. And I'm a writer, but I am not a journaler. But I have learned just in general with negative self-talk, I don't do the affirmations, but I do talk to myself all the time. And if I catch myself in my head,
they always say
if you say it out loud, then that's different. But
I'll say it out loud.
But
is that worse to say it out loud?
No. You can say it out loud. But they always say, if you're talking to yourself out loud, it might be a sign of some other type of mental illness.
Oh dear God!
You need to address.
I thought that's when you answer yourself.
Oh yeah, no. That is when you answer yourself.
When you answer yourself, that's a problem.
Yeah, because I think I might talk to myself all the time, internally and externally.
And
if you catch me out in public talking to myself,
watch out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I've gotten pretty good at my internal story. But that is very late in life.
And you've worked hard.
I've worked really,
people don't
really
realize
hard.
how when you want to change behaviors in yourself or whatever, it's not easy. It's a journey. And I always say you're working on yourself to the day you die. I do believe that, but it's just funny. You can look back when you do focus on those things you want to work on. I mean, I bet you just love yourself so much more.
I do love myself. And I always say this. I feel like this version of me is the version of me that God intended for me to be. And without all the stuff that happens. But that came through hard work.
But maybe you had to go through all of that to get there.
I do. And I think it's just to share stuff like this for people to know that there's hope and there's, you can change your life, but it does take work to do those things. And it does take those conscientious efforts to be very intentional about how you're going to protect your mental health and wellness.
Yeah, because we talked in a previous episode about so even if you've done all these horrible things that society would say are horrible, you can redeem yourself.
You can redeem
and
yourself.
not feel the shame. And you move on, and then we talked about surrounding yourself with people that might know your story, but they're not going to judge you for it. They're actually going to support you and say, you know what, that was then.
Yes.
I know you now.
Yep.
I get you now. Look at you now.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
And the fear of being seen. I think even since we've done the show, I think for you, I've seen that change even more.
Oh, really?
Just about what you're going to say and how that might be perceived about what you say.
Yeah.
I think with me too.
Yeah.
The longer I do it, the more we talk and are kind of just being authentic to who we are, the more comfortable you get with just,
you don't want to offend, right? We did a episode earlier and... but I don't know
that we would have done that earlier. I think we would have checked ourselves
more. We might have been like, oh my gosh, but at the end it was like, right, we weren't trying to offend anybody. That's not what the purpose of it. But if we can't keep the theme of what we want our show to be, which is authenticity, then we shouldn't even do it.
Then we shouldn't even. Why are we here?
Right.
If
we can't be ourselves, because we do have rights to opinions and thoughts, and they may not even be different between us, but that's okay.
But a lot of people don't want to be seen. A lot of people want to go through life with a mask on.
Why though? God.
Because it's acceptable.
God, it's so exhausting though.
That is exhausting.
I remember being in a situation years ago and just watching this group of people. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and I remember thinking, God, it's got to be so exhausting I used the word fake at that time. I don't know if it was fake, but maybe, like Kim said, it was a mask. These people, it's like, you cannot all be the same. This has got to, and I was sitting back as an outsider, oh my gosh, these are not my people. It was just I knew right off the bat, these were not my people. They were nice people, but you could just tell it was trying to one up each other. Everybody was trying to be, it was very mask. Everybody had a mask on. And maybe they're different now. That was 15 years ago, but.
A lot of people wear a mask.
I don't want to live that way anymore.
No, I think authenticity with social media, that's one of the positive things that people are being more, just being who they are. So sometimes, maybe more than we want them to be.
Yes.
But that's a good thing about social media. So it can be used for good.
Mm-hmm.
It can be used for ill, and just knowing the difference and making sure that you protect that. And then Kristin S. also talks about 3 kind of tenets of things that you should follow.
And is she a therapist?
She is a therapist, a marriage and family therapist.
Marriage and family therapist.
And she talks about self-compassion.
Okay.
Or self-kindness, common humanity. So the self-kindness is really how you talk about yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's just a simple thing. Common humanity is that we all feel shame. We all do things that we are ashamed of, and that it's okay. You're not any worse than anyone else. And then just being mindful, being really mindful about your practices and how you take care of yourself, and how you're thinking and how you're practicing as you go through life. And then just doing those kind of really intentional things that we were talking about. And so really, I just want to make sure, and it was important to me because of my own struggles with depression and anxiety, because of the work I've done in the field for many, many years, and the passion that I feel about how people struggle. And so if you are having any kind of mental health struggles, we will have resources that we will share on the different platforms.
Yes.
And make sure that you are tackling that one thing. If you can start thinking about, what are the areas in my life that I feel shame? The shame that I have barely acknowledged to myself, the shame that I have acknowledged to myself, the shame that I want to tell somebody else about, and sharing that information with someone else, even if it's a therapist, a best friend, or whomever, and then really get serious about bringing it to the light. And don't let it stay in the dark and kind of fester in you. And you will see your mental health, I believe you will see your mental health improve as you allow yourself to kind of address those shadows.
That's awesome. I love that, because at the end of the day, life is too short to spend it. I mean, you're saying since 10 years old, Kim. I mean, that's most of your life.
It is. It's sad.
It's sad, but you've worked hard to overcome. So I agree.
And I'm not sad now. I'm like really happy now.
I mean, you can hear us laughing all the time. But that's great advice.
Yeah.
And I think that we all get one life, right? So, and it's not all going to be easy.
No.
But if you're authentic and you just kind of work through your issues, and surround yourself
and be yourself, no matter who you are. No, whatever's going on in your life, be yourself. You will be so much happier.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone calls you out for who you are, or something about yourself, give it right back to them. That's what I do now.
Yeah. I'm not letting anybody tell me who I am.
I mean, I kind of am loud, right?
We're both loud.
But I actually have someone who will say things to me, and sometimes, and one day I finally just got tired of it. And I was like, look, this is just who I am, and I'm going to be loud. My voice carries. That is just the way that I am. And it felt so empowering.
Yeah. Think about the little girl who didn't say that.
Oh, I would have never. I would have just shut down. And I'm not going to do that anymore, but kind of, why should you be shamed for who you are? I mean, I believe in God. He made me this way, right?
That's right. He did a wonderful job.
Oh, you too, girly.
You need those positive people who are just going to pour into you.
Yeah, and that's and really, as we complete the show, I would say that's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
Obviously take care of yourself and all that, but we've talked about it a lot. Surround yourself with those people in your life that may not agree with everything or support everything you do. Well, they'd support you, but they may call you out when they think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But those are the people you want in your life.
Yes.
You want those people because
they're going to help you grow.
They're going to help, and to be the best version of yourself. Being around people that aren't good for you are just going to bring you down at the end of the day, and you're not going to get any closer to where you want to be.
That's right. And if I tell you about yourself, I love you.
Yeah.
Because
no, and you have with me a couple times, and I mean, it's hard to hear sometimes, but I know.
But I'm not that bad.
No, I don't mean it like in that way, but like, right, when someone's telling you're always very loving.
Yeah.
But it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know you have my best interest at heart. And it's always been something that I most of the time I recognize.
You already know it yourself.
I already know.
Yeah.
But then when you hear someone that loves you say, like, Shannon, I didn't, you got to be careful with this or whatever, then you're just like, okay, wow, I really need to get myself together, right? Yeah. And that's real.
Yeah. And I say it to you with no shame, no judgment.
Right. And I'm getting better with that too, because it's hard for me, sometimes. But I've been working on that, and so it's just it's great. But if you don't have positive people around you, it's going to be difficult for you to do that, right?
You won't be able to.
You won't be able to.
Yeah. It'll continue to feed into that negative
Exactly.
story.
We don't want that. We don't want that here.
Yeah.
Well,
only positivity.
Exactly.
No toxic positivity either.
Oh yeah. Well, that could be for another show. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, we got to do that one.
Oh God. Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing. I don't care what social media says.
I want to hear more about that. Anyway, well, it's a great show.
Yeah.
This was fun. And thank you so much for tuning in and supporting us on our journey, the Pink Dress Effect podcast. And we look forward to seeing you next time.